All right. Hello and good morning. This is going to be video 899 on the newer laptop camera. I cannot believe how much my other camera, okay, which was not a cheapy camera, how crappy that video is. Maybe because it's made for web conferencing. I've got the laptop down here and then another monitor up here, so that's why my eyes keep going up. Um, Something about laptop monitors. They're too dark for me. I think my eyes I'm losing I can't remember if it's rods or cones. I think cones give you color and rods help with black and white brightness. I think maybe my rods are I'm short a couple rods or something cuz my eyes are things are getting darker and darker. Maybe I'll go blind. I don't know. Anyway, um yeah, today I think it's going to be video 899. Yep. And today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. Day of Remembrance, I think is what the official title of it is. 2023, and I just have a couple of this is going to kind of be a smorgasbord of a couple different things. I've watched a lot of videos over the last week, a couple weeks, and I've talked about them. Christopher Hutchinson, who is I think probably a prolific atheist, and I really have kind of enjoyed listening to some of his thoughts. I don't necessarily agree with all of them, but um, you know, coming from a position where your entire existence is often debated about because someone says they have religious views. Okay, that seems to be in America where I live in Indiana. That seems to be the common thing when I called Senator Todd Young and I asked him, I was like, well, I'm a transgender woman and I'm asking you to represent me by voting for the Equality Act. And he said, well, I can, in good conscience, support the Equality Act because it supports abortion. And I'm sitting here going, okay, transgender woman, I'm not going to have an abortion. I can't have babies. Um, I'm calling about my ability to get the medication that I need. Boing, and all this other stuff has absolutely nothing to do with abortion. And Todd Young says, well, I have to represent my constituents who believe it's against their religious views. And I guess coming from that space where you've been told your whole life, you're a bad person or whatnot, and, there's a lot of history and baggage that I carry with me. And I guess after listening to Christopher Hunchen and to see usually on a video with Christopher Hutchins speaking, there's a room full of people and it's at a college or a university and they invite someone, the God question. Is there a God? Is there not a God? Is religion a poison or a panacea? Is religion good or bad type thing? And, you'll hear someone talk about, how they know there's a God because they feel there's a God. And then Christopher Hutchins like, well, I know there's not a God because X, Y, and Z, P to Q. Um, it kind of, I feel like I need to give an example of kind of where I stand. And I'm going to use my prop here. As you know, I love to use little props. So this is a prepared prop. I put a piece of tape on a box. Okay, so question: is there a God? Um, Here's a box. What's in the box? That's the question. Is there anything in the box? We could shake the box, and you would hear something rattle in it, I suppose. If I shook the box, but I just have a box here. Okay, I put a little piece of duct tape on top of it. Um, so yeah, what's in the box? Is there something in the box? Well, much like God, um, we can't shake the box. Um, maybe I should have started this by not having a box. Maybe I should have just like not have a box and just say, let's imagine I have a box. What's in the box? That's probably a better view. But there might be a box and there might be something in the box, right? I mean, you could see the box in front of you. Okay, so I'm going to put the box down and try not to shake it as I put it down. Okay. So, is there a box? If there is a box, what's in the box? To me, that sort of is religion in a nutshell. With the exception of, like I said, I should have started this out by saying, is there a box? Because now you know there's a box because you've seen it. Okay, so maybe I messed up there. But in our hypothetical box, okay, well, what's in the box? Is there a box? Well, the truth is, we can't see the box. We can't shake the box. We may not even, if I started off by saying, well, what's in the box? You're like, well, what box? I guess that's more philosophy, right? Prove the existence of the box, disprove the existence of it. We can't see the box. We don't know what it is. And let alone we don't know what's in the box. Is the box empty? Is the box full? We don't know that either. And so I guess to me that is sort of the whole idea. From where I'm at in my life at 50 years old, um, I find the idea of arguing the existence or non-existence just as silly as I do someone fighting and passing laws that they expect other people to follow based on what may or may not be in the box, right? Um, I guess it's Schrodinger's cat. Is the cat still alive? I guess that's a duality of states. But again, we can't see the box. Now, of course, you and I, we saw the box initially, but let's assume for the moment we didn't. I'll pick something else. Okay. Imagine a can. That's probably a better example since we've seen the box. I kind of fucked that up, didn't I? All right. So a can. Let's envision a can. Okay. A can of Coke. Um, is it full or is it empty? Is there even a can? Now, of course, you and I know there's a can of Coke over here, right? Okay. But is there a can? I don't know. As much as I can argue and present a point one way or the other, there is no fucking way to, excuse me, there is no way of knowing if there's a can. There's no way of knowing what the can believes. There's no way, like I said, as soon as we start, and maybe this might be a little more of, I guess, where Christopher Hitchens builds some of his, kind of like anti-religion to show the fallacy of basing human law, passing legislation based off this imaginary concept. But to me, again, even sitting down and having a conversation, you're welcome to your opinion by all means. But the whole idea of, you know, to me, it's just silly. And I guess as being someone who's been on the receiving end of it, um, discrimination, bullying, and still to this day, um, today there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of politicians, a lot of news people who are going to say something about what a great person Martin Luther King is, and how they believe that Martin Luther King was such a great person, and how much they believe that we should not judge people by the color of their skin, and by the and how we shouldn't treat people based on things they can't help, the color of their skin and what they believe in, and how people should all be together, and life, liberty, and I can't cross it, maybe I can. Life, liberty, this is the land of the free, and justice, equality for all. Okay, of course you can't see them doing that, but that's what they're doing, uh behind their backs. Um, Today, my Governor Holcomb, is a Republican who called for the Indiana legislature to call a special session so that they can take away women's rights to bodily autonomy. He gave this speech, posted about how he believes in Martin Luther King and how, equality and you know we're all equal. And it's to see him do that is such a it's a hypocrisy to, like, it just drives you nuts. And of course, if you happen to be a woman or you happen to be affected, maybe might be the better way of saying that, by not having bodily autonomy, because we have transgender men, we have transmasculine women, we have intersex individuals, anyone who this applies to, being taken down a notch, a peg. Um, if it affects you when you hear something like that, it's like nails on a chalkboard. You see the hypocrisy for what it is. And I can only imagine, as a white person, obviously Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend King, um, if you read his I have a dream speech, and I always try and post it when I can. Again, because like Governor Holcomb, he's just going to focus on 7 words. Okay? Judge judge not by their skin, but by the condition of their character. You're going to hear that over 7 or 10 words over and over and over and over again. Uh, if you read that speech in its entirety, it is a call for action. Okay, in the same way that I believe a lot of Jesus's stuff was a call for action. You know, uh, Jesus was anti-establishment. Jesus was very anti-establishment, and you know, the establishment had him killed, and then took his words and twisted it to perpetuate the establishment. Okay, and so when you have an old white man talk about how much he believes in equality of people, knowing that he was the one who took away your rights, and in fact proved how inequitable you are, then you see the hypocrisy for what it is. And like I said, I'd take that back a level and address Dr. King's, his whole thing was to give the Negro his due. Those are his words. Give the Negro his due, make reparations, you know. But you don't hear about that. You just hear about this, everything's wonderful and we all love each other and we're equal, and that's not true. So it's hypocrisy. You know, it's the same bullshit as Thanksgiving, for example. Oh, the Pilgrims and the Indians sat at a table and they talked about how nice it was, and the Pilgrims converted to the Indians because God is the one true path, and blah blah. I mean, bullshit. Okay. So I guess that's kind of kicking this off today, is uh, hopefully recognizing how much bullshit that it is, call it for what it is, and then I guess make a plan to address it if you can. Calling it out is probably a good first step. A good second step is to start volunteering locally and reaching out, asking your local civil rights groups and whatnot what you can do to improve. What can I do to help? And in the same ways, sort of like in foreign policy, we've had something recently about Ukraine. Um, and people will say, well, no decisions about Ukraine without the Ukrainians. One of the follies that President Trump did, one among many, was going into Afghanistan and negotiating with the Taliban and whatnot without the knowledge, consent, approval, or involvement of the Afghanistan government. Trump, a lot of, I know people are going to talk about Biden and the Afghanistan fiasco pulling out. That wasn't Biden's doing. Okay, Trump set that whole thing up. Uh, Trump said, this is what we're going to do, and I promise, and this is what we're going to do, and negotiated with the Taliban without the Afghan, no consideration of anybody else, much like his personality. and fucked that up. But so, you know, no negotiating without about Ukraine without the Ukrainians. Don't negotiate about women without the involvement of women. Plain and simple. Don't address racial inequality without the involvement of the people being messed up, without black people, without the Negro, as Dr. King would say. It's his words. Give the Negro his due. America has written a blank, a check that was, what is it? What did he call it? A defaulted check. Basically a bounce check. America has made a lot of promises that it has not carried through on. That again, if you read the full text of the speech, you will walk away with a very different opinion um, than what I believe, sort of the Republican point of view. When you address equity, and equity is not equality. That's not to say it's a bad thing. I think that we need equity, but you know, the point of view that I see from Republicans is more equality of suffering instead of addressing where that suffering is coming from, instead of improving it so there is no suffering. They just want to make everybody suffer the same unless you're white or you're rich. That seems to be the. But anyway, not to get too political, but maybe this whole thing is political. So anyway, I guess that's my second point. So my first point is when it comes to religion and trying to pass laws on religion, um, we don't know if there's a box or not. We tend to live our lives based on science, you know, reality. Maybe one day we'll come to the point that we can communicate with celestial beings and what we consider to be divine entities. Maybe one day, but for the moment, we have to deal with what we have: science, right? Science. So I guess that's kind of my spiel for the day. But something I did at work was I posted that if someone is going to say equality, Martin Luther King, I believe in what he believed in, equality, that we're equal. The next step to me is to address inequality. And then when you talk about LGBTQ stuff, in other words, a person can't sit there and say, I believe in equality of opportunity, and then for that person to then discriminate or bully LGBTQ folks. You can't do both. You can't do both. You can't do both. And I guess that was another Christopher Hutchins thing. The argument was, well, there are some crazy fringe people in Christianity and religion, and but you shouldn't look to them as the example. Their Christianity and religion has done a lot of good things. There are a lot of good people out there. So let's focus on the good. And Christopher's, kind of reply back. He says, "Well, you can't pick and choose. If the book, your holy tome, your holy guidebook says if you do this, you should be killed, and if you do that, you should be put to death, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Then you can't pick and choose. Uh, again, for us here in the United States, people that wear different types of fabric are committing a sin against God. People that divorce and get remarried or divorce is a sin against God. Eating certain foods, eating shrimp, it's a sin. It's a sin punishable, by death. And to sit here and go, well, that's kind of fringe. You don't necessarily have to follow that. Um, it kind of proves that, okay, so then it is up for debate And if it's God, it really shouldn't be. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a counterpoint to it. But again, when it comes to policy, probably not the best basis of things to do things. And then the other thing is, I guess, is, what one person believes. Again, back to uh, Thomas Jefferson, and before he wrote the Bill of Rights, stuff that he wrote in the state of Virginia, the colony of Virginia, I should say, excuse me, the colony of Virginia, lots of stuff Thomas Jefferson wrote against religion as a basis for making decisions for government. And so it just seems like, you know, not that this is going to be an anti-religion talk. Again, you have to put me in my place, put me in the context that I'm in, for the first, well, still as a 51-year-old trans woman, I'm still being oppressed. I mean, I can't run away from that. People in my state, the legislature, passed an anti-transgender bill, and much to his credit, the governor vetoed it, and the state legislature overrode him. So, I mean, I'm actively being discriminated against. I'm actively being persecuted. Okay, I don't necessarily think by religious people. I just think it's a I'm a scapegoat. You know, I am the other, the boogeyman, the boogie woman. And so, again, it's you don't have to go very far, and I'm white. You know, black people of color. That's kind of an oxymoron. Um, Transgender people of color, excuse me. Um, the highest amount of murders and violence against transgender women are transgender women of color. Okay. And so again, on this day of, white people everywhere going, you know, I believe in inequality, and I'm not going to judge other people, and everyone should be on the same level. And, it's very easy to say, but what we do means so much more. And I think that's going to change. I think that is going to change. I think it's going to change. As the song goes, change is going to come. At the moment, you know, something like 51% of the United States population are women. There are more women than men at the moment. Um, the statistics that I saw the other day on a whole is it's I think 1 out of 10 people are gay, or maybe trans or non-binary. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, my memory's a little hazy. The population, because now we have a name for it, and we have science studies that are actually asking good questions. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Like said before, interracial marriage was the hot topic when I was growing up in high school. Yes, the gays, you'd make fun of gay people, faggots and whatnot. Really nasty language now. Um, but that was the taboo back then, and now you don't think anything about a mixed couple, do you? You understand that if a person finds love, I mean, fuck, for me, that's like, you know, like I said, that's like Death Star odds. That's navigating an asteroid field odds. For me is to find a mate, as a 51-year-old trans woman. But um damn, where was I going with that? Oh, finding someone that your soulmate. Soulmate. I'm happy for anybody who finds their soulmate. I mean, seriously, don't, you know, man, woman, both, neither, and everything, nothing. if you can find someone that's got your back and you can live with and everything, I mean, that's wonderful. Bless your heart, right? But when I was growing up, it was a lot of silos, racial silos. You didn't date. I mean, and I guess before that, back to religion, Jewish people, Christian people, different religions, and then ethnicity. Oh my gosh, as a people, we're just a lot of silos, and some of them have been knocked over, and the gay one that's in the process of being knocked over. You the people, like I said, the people that are currently in Congress are not representative of a cross section of the United States by any means. Um, Statistically, when you compare the makeup of the 2022 Congress versus the 2020 census data, uh, the Congress are overrepresented by white male Christians. I mean, when that changes, oh my gosh, cannot wait, cannot wait. Okay. So yeah, so change is gonna happen. We just have to be patient, and old white people are gonna die through attrition. Okay, I'm not calling for, everybody gets old, everybody dies, death and taxes, right? We can't avoid them. So we just have to wait it out. We just have to wait it out. You know, every year more and more representative people, hopefully Congress will be more of a cross section of not only popular population, okay, but also beliefs. The majority of Congress right now are, I believe, in their 60s. You know, that's not representative of the population of the United States. It's certainly not representative of men versus women, and it's certainly not representative of religion either. Like I said, so we just have to wait. We just have to wait. It may not be something I see. I don't think it'll be something I'll see. And it may not be something that my daughter will see, but maybe my daughter's daughter or the generation that comes after that, I should say. All right. Sorry for hitting the monitor. But anyway, I'll shut up. We're almost at 30 minutes. Um, so, yeah, hopefully some food for thought. Like I said, what's in the box? What's in the can? Is there a can? There's really no way to knowing. Um, I mean, the flying spaghetti monster argument or discussion is just wonderful. Okay. Uh, you know, and seriously, and this is something that is very hard at my work, especially back in December. Like I said, we had people get upset uh, because even the idea, well, let me preface that. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the idea of sharing December with any other religion was crazy. But this year, there was a whole lot of people who jumped on the Festivus wagon, and there were quite a number of people that jumped on the flying spaghetti monster. And I guess the point of it is diversity. You know, for the last 200 or so years in America, Christianity has had such a stranglehold. And I talked about this in a video or two ago where it's unraveling. That control is unraveling. I mean, uh, it's uh, it's already happening. You know what I mean? It just takes a while, I guess, to have an effect at the polls, maybe. Especially when the people who are in power have control over who votes, right? And what votes get counted. Not to be too conspiracy theory, but you know what I mean. The way congressional districts are drawn, gerrymandering. And then if you have people in power who restrict um, who try and toss out votes or try to keep black people from voting or try to keep Latino people from voting, try to keep, you know what I mean? Things that are in the system that people use to keep themselves in power longer. Um, but like I said, death you can't escape, at least not that as far as I know. So eventually, yeah, old age, old age will come, or Alzheimer's, one of the two. My mom has Alzheimer's. Anyway, until next time. Bye bye. Good luck. Oh, good luck in becoming your authentic self as you define it. Get my tagline. Bye.